everybody. I'm Hillary Atkin from the Atkin Report, and I'm so excited to welcome Jose Figueroa Jr. from The Voice to this edition of Hillary's Happy Hour. Jose, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Hillary. How are you?
Excellent. And I want to congratulate you for moving on to the knockout rounds after your battle with Awari performing You Say. The only way I can
Thank you.
describe it was soaring.
Oh,
But
wow.
what was going through your mind as you completed the performance and waited for the coach's comments?
If I'm honest, well, first of all, thank you. If I'm honest, I didn't think I was gonna win. I don't know if everybody caught that with my reaction afterwards. I was very shocked, but for me, one of the things that I love the most about working with Awari is that it didn't feel like it was a competition. It felt like it was just two friends performing, and doing what they love to do. And I think that was the best part about it all for me. So while we were doing it, that's really what was in my mind. It was just ministering to the people with the song that was given to us and doing it together, if that makes any sense.
I mean, what did you think about Kelsey Ballerini filling in for Kelly and what she had to say about you?
I thought that was cool. The fact that she said that my runs and riffs were impressive. It's always nice to hear stuff like that. She did mention a little bit about throwing one in here and there. I think with that kind of critique, it's tough sometimes, right? Because when runs and riffs come naturally to you and it's just something that kind of just comes out of your mouth as you sing, it can oftentimes be a little difficult to be like, well, yeah, let me just take it out of there and let me just take it out of there, because I don't predetermine what I'm going to sing. I just kind of let it happen as it's going along. So, but there's always room to grow. So if that's something that I need to do to grow, then I'll do it.
Well, let's rewind for a moment to your blind audition. And John turned for you really quickly. And then Nick turned at the very end of your performance. And John, in his comment, said it felt like you should have been a four-chair turn. And then Blake was making a play for you to go with Nick. But I want to hear from you what your strategy was and what was going through your head at that time.
Well, in that moment, as you know, it can be very like overwhelming, because this is something like I've always watched The Voice and I've always seen this part, right? And I always get really excited for the contestants, and I'm such a crybaby, so I'll cry and I'm like, oh my god, their dream is coming true. That's so nice. And like and so to be there in that moment, it's like, oh my gosh, this is happening for me now. Like, oh my gosh. So the fact that John turned around for me, it's funny because I didn't even know. I had my eyes closed when John turned. So when I finally opened up my eyes, I was like, oh my gosh, it's John. Look somewhere else. Um, um, and honestly, it's a tough decision because you never know, you never really go in there with like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna, so what happened for me in the feedback and the going back and forth and the banter and the fighting, which was so like crazy, was I started to think about how similar John and I are as far as our backgrounds and our genre and our and the way that we kind of sort of sing. Obviously, he has a different tone, but we kind of do the gospel feel, R&B feel. It's very similar. So I essentially went with Nick because I felt like Nick and I, opposites attract. And I felt like Nick is such a different type of performer and different type of singer that I felt like he could have taught me things that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise known or learned per se had I been with John. He has a fresh take on things. He's no offense to John, but he's younger, so he kind of understands what the younger generation is looking for. I'm a little older than he is, but I'm still kind of young. So I want to be able to appeal. I want to be able to appeal to everybody. Like I have in the past and in my career, I've appealed to the older audience. I want to always be able to appeal to as much of an audience as possible. And I think since I kind of already have somewhat the older generation, Nick will help me with the younger ones.
What have you learned from Nick so far and also from your mentor, Darren Chris?
Well, first of all, let me just say that Darren Chris, that was a surprise, like 100%. When we walked in, I was like, oh my gosh, it's Darren. I know him. He's Glee. And he's like, I just went nuts with everything that was going through my mind about him. And if I can just go back for a second, one of the other reasons why I picked Nick is because a lot of the things that I want to do with my career, hopefully, he's done. Like he's done Broadway, he's done movies, he's done, so he's done so many of these things that I'm like, maybe working with him could help open those doors in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I did that. But as far as what I've learned from Nick, honestly, one of the things that he said in our rehearsal was, to make sure that you always connect. And that's one of the things that I genuinely aspire to do. Whenever I go out on stage, I want to be able to connect, even if it's with just one person. You have to connect, right? Because otherwise you're just singing to yourself, or you're singing to an empty room per se. So I've always tried to do that. So, having him say that kind of just sat and resonated with me. Like, this is definitely what it's all about. It's about doing that. I will say that I also learned, as far as television is concerned, from the both of them, how to kind of try to work the camera ish. I don't think I'm still good with it yet, but that's definitely one thing that I took with me. Like, make sure that you're paying attention to the camera because it's coming at you, and this is the only way that you're connecting with the audience right now. Because unfortunately, we have a virtual audience as opposed to a live audience. So that's definitely something that I took with me.
Well, one of the things that is really cool to watch about you as a viewer is your style, and the what you've worn on stage has been very splashy, very sparkly. It's been noted, but let's hear more about it. And I hear you have a signature piece that you can tell us about too.
Absolutely. I am such a simple person when it comes to every day. As you can tell, it's very simple. I'm very laid back. 9 times out of 10, I'm really in a t-shirt and not even a polo. Like, I'm just so laid back. But I feel like when I'm on stage, there has to be a difference, right? You don't want to go on stage with a t-shirt and jeans because it's just not going to give
No.
off the same thing. And then being a gospel artist, because I don't have like what secular artists have with background dancers and all this other flashiness going on, there has to be kind of like another step, another something that I need to do that hopefully outside of my voice would also capture somebody's attention. And so I choose to do that with my clothing. So a lot of the times I'll wear blazers with sequins or something that can just shine and pop from the stage, especially with all the lighting. But then outside of that, which is part of my everyday also, is my
Oh,
I wear this stuff on a daily basis because this is, I guess, my flashy stuff, right? And this is the signature piece you were talking about. It's a microphone. And I
wow.
wear it all the time because it's just, I feel naked if I don't have it at this point. Like, I wear it so much. But it's just, it reminds me about who I am, if that makes any sense. Like, I am a singer at heart. God gave me this gift. It's who I am. It's what I'm supposed to do with my life. And if I ever lose sight of that, or if I ever forget and I try to do something that's not that, this kind of keeps me grounded. Like, hey, but remember, this is the first gift you were ever given, the gift of vocals, so make sure you always use them.
Wow, that's an incredible story, and I love that piece. And I we're wrapping up our happy hour. I want to propose a toast to you, Jose, and I want to wish you continued success on The Voice. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for
much.
being with me.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.